Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rakha Kodesh. Double honors to the elders and the apostles of Great Millstone, and peace and blessings to the elect. And today we're going to go into the book of Ecclesiasticus, the 40th chapter. Great travail is created for every man, and an heavy yoke is upon the sons of Adam. That's a heavy burden. From the day that they go out of their mother's womb, till the day they return to the mother of all things, which is the earth. So from the day they're born to the day they die, there's a heavy burden laid upon man. Their imagination of things to come and the day of death trouble their thoughts and cause fear of heart. That's anxiety, right? Your fear of, things that are going to happen in the future, thinking about what happens if you're, when you die, and, when you die, what you're going to leave behind. They cause fear of the heart. For him that sitteth on a throne of glory, unto him, or from him that sitteth on the throne of glory, unto him that is humbled in earth and ashes. So from the rich to the poor, all right, from the one that is glorified to the one that is, humbled, the same affliction passeth upon all. From him that weareth purple, which are the royal, right, the royalty, and a crown, unto him that is clothed with a linen frock, which is your common folk or even your poor person, wrath and envy, trouble and unquietness, fear of death and anger and strife. And in the time of rest upon his bed, his night's sleep do change his knowledge. See, so when you go to sleep, the thoughts in your mind, wrath, envy, trouble, these burdens of man, it says what? They change his knowledge, right? They affect your thoughts. A little or nothing is his rest, right? So you barely get any sleep. And afterward, he is in his sleep, right? So if you do fall asleep, and is a day, as in a day of watching, it's going to like having a nightmare, right? When you fall asleep, it's like you're awake, troubled in the vision of his heart, right? In your dream, as if he were escaped out of a battle. When all is safe, he waketh, right? So in the dream, it feels real, right? You may have a dream about, being in the midst of a battle, your life is on the line, and, it gets so intense, boom, you wake up. Right, and marveleth that the fear was nothing. Right, you wake up, you grabbing your heart. Okay, all right, that was just a dream. Such things happen unto all flesh, both man and beast, and that is sevenfold upon sinners. Yeah, even animals. You'll see like sometimes, like I have a cat. Right, sometimes when she's sleeping, you can see her mouth twitching, her hand, her paw moving. It's like she's chasing something in her dream. Probably dreaming about chasing, some trees, a toy or something like that. But anyways, as here, such things happen unto all flesh, both man and beast, and that is sevenfold upon sinners. See, so sinners have it worse, because their thoughts, their conscience eats at them. Death and bloodshed, strife and sword, calamities, famine, tribulation, and a scourge. These things are created for the wicked, and for their sakes came the flood. See, so and they're created for the wicked as punishments, right? And peradventure they may repent or amend their wicked ways, but it was for their sakes, right? For the sakes of the wicked that the flood came upon the earth. All things that are of the earth shall turn to the earth again, right? That is man, life. Eventually you're going to die and your body's going to go back to the earth. It's going to break down and decompose. And that which is of the waters doth return into the seas, right? That's dealing with, the bodies of water flowing back, into the water, as is the course of the rivers. It says, all bribery and injustice shall be blotted out, but true dealing shall endure forever. Yeah, and bribery and injustice represents corruption and perversion, all right, which is driven by corrupt men, and they're going to be blotted out. But true dealing shall endure forever. Those that are honest, right, and those that are honest are those that fear the Lord, that deal righteously, they're going to endure forever. In other words, righteous works, are going to maintain forever. The goods of the unjust shall be dried up like a river. And so they're going to lose their goods, their riches, their their sustenance like a river that's drying up, and shall vanish with noise like a great thunder in rain. See that? So it's going to be the day of reckoning, right? When they lose all their goods, it's going to be like the noise as in of like agony. Okay, it says like a great thunder in rain. While he openeth his hand, he shall rejoice. So shall transgressors come to naught. Now here is referring to the one that openeth his hand is like giving, right? If you have something to give, you open your hand to give it. So the one that gives, okay, is or a generous person will rejoice, okay, but those that sin will ultimately fail. That's the transgressors coming to naught. The children of the ungodly shall not bring forth many branches, but are as unclean roots upon a hard rock. Basically, they're like a tree, or trying to take root upon a rock. It's not going to work, right? It doesn't have the solid foundation of the good soil, so it's going to fail. So in other words, the children of ungodly people, they're not going to have many branches, right? A large family, and it won't be long before the Lord takes them off the planet. I believe Wisdom of Solomon 3 and 4 also go into that. The weed growing upon every water and bank of a river shall be pulled before the grass. Basically, they're going to be like the weeds that are pulled first, in terms of the grass by the riverbank, right? Reading this in the GNT, says, like reeds along a riverbank withering before any other plant, with the withering there is to pull, to be uprooted. Bountifulness is a most fruitful garden, and mercifulness endureth forever. Yeah, and when you show mercy, right, and when you give cheerfully, it returns back to you. Okay, if not from the person it was showed to, then from the Lord. To labor and to be content with that a man hath, it is a sweet life. Yeah, not to be greedy, but to be, satisfied with what the Lord has blessed you with. But he that findeth a treasure is above them both. Children and the building of a city continue a man's name. Yeah, when you have children, right, and they're raised up correctly, they continue your good name, right? They keep the name of their father or parent alive. And if you build a city, okay, once again, your name would be, like, for example, when you go into even Roman history, right? A lot of people remember Romulus and Remus, as they're known as the founders, okay, of the city of Rome. But if you build a city, right, or you raise up children, especially correctly, they continue your name. But a blameless wife is counted above them both. You see, and that's a wife that's shamefaced, humble, pleasant to dwell with. Wine and music rejoice the heart, right? They make the heart glad. But the love of wisdom is above them both. Yeah, that brings the ultimate joy. The pipe and the psaltery, which is music, make make sweet melody, but a pleasant tongue is above them both. Yeah, so a good song is great, right? A good song is good, but a pleasant tongue, good words in due season, told in the right time, is even better. Thine eye desireth favor and beauty, but more than both, corn while it is green. Okay, and the green corn is basically the new growth in the spring, or you seeing your whatever you had planted growing and sprouting forth, knowing you're gonna have a good harvest, right? That's more desired than favor and beauty. A friend, or in other words, increase, right? The increase. A friend and companion never meet amiss, right? You can never go wrong with a good friend. But above both is a wife with her husband, right? In other words, a wife that's well ordered, with her husband. Brethren and help are against time of trouble. Yeah, it's good to have brothers. It's good to have friends that can help you and support you in time of trouble. But alms shall deliver more than them both, because alms and those good deeds, they call on help from the Lord, right? They cover sins, right? And they can count as righteousness, which can deliver you better than brethren and help. Because the help that comes as a recompense for your righteousness comes from the Lord. And where man can't, the Lord can. Gold and silver make the foot stand sure, right? The scriptures say that money answereth all things. Money is a defense. So when you have, riches, you have stability. But counsel is esteemed above them both. Yeah, because you can be rich, and through lack of counsel, you can lose those riches. And then you lose that stability and that power and insurance that came with the riches. But good counsel, wise counsel is above them both. Right? The ultimate stability comes from that. Matter of fact, let's go real quick to Isaiah 33 and 6. And wisdom and knowledge shall be the stability of thy times. Counsel comes from wisdom and knowledge. The strength of salvation, the fear of the Lord Yahweh, is his treasure. See, so going back here, the counsel is esteemed above gold and silver. Riches and strength lift up the heart, but the fear of the Lord is above them both. There is no want, right? No lacking in the fear of the Lord, and it needeth not to seek help. So you can have riches one day, and you may not be enough the next day, right? Or you can lose it, or it can be stolen. But the fear of the Lord is not so. It's forever abounding. The fear of the Lord is a fruitful garden. See that? And covereth him above all glory. See, so those that fear the Lord, you're always going to have in abundance because the source is infinite. And it covers you, right? As it says, above all glory. My son, lead not a beggar's life, right? Don't end up as a beggar. For better it is to die than to beg. The life of him that dependeth on another man's table is not to be counted for a life. Meaning, once again, like if your life is based on you having to depend on somebody else's meat or somebody else's mercy, that's it's better to be dead than to live a life like that. For he polluteth himself with other men's meat, right? You don't have a say in what it is, right? If this is what they give you, that's all you have, you know. But a wise man, well nurtured, will beware thereof. See, a wise man, well nurtured, raised properly, with a sound mind, will keep that in mind, right? The prudent man looketh well into his goings, and will beware of this, and therefore, knowing what leads to poverty, will beware to not be slothful, right? And do the things that'll keep them, out of that kind of life, because if they end up there, they know how bad it can be. Begging is sweet in the mouth of the shameless, but in his belly or in his mind there shall burn a fire. Meaning that, you may see somebody that's like begging all the time, right? They can make begging sound sweet, but inside them, in their mind, right, there's it's burning, right? Because it's a shameful thing. Anyway, that brings us to the end of the book of Ecclesiasticus, the 40th chapter. Lord willing, that was edifying to the elect. In closing, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Brakah Kodesh. Until next time, Shalom.